Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I am coming back at you with another Wargaming and Miniature video. In this video, we are going to continue on with our work on our Lafir campaign, our Lafir Bridge campaign tiles, map board, and in today's video, hopefully I'm going to be able to do multiple things. One of them is I'm going to take the bocage out. I'm going to place them where they belong on the battle, and then I'm going and figure out exactly where I'm going to place the pieces. And then once I've got that determined, I'm going to label the bottom of my bocage to let me know where it needs to be placed. That way, when I get to the convention and I start pulling these bocage out, I don't have to go, okay, does this one go over here or does it go over here? And that way I'll be able to quickly get it out. I'll pull it out and I'll say, okay, it goes on tile 1. Okay, this is where it goes. It goes on tile 2. This is where it goes. Goes on tile 3. This is where it goes. And I was also thinking that this is just my scratch map, but I will actually make a more complete map that has the numbers like I'll do it on the computer. I'll actually label where each of the bocage go, and that way I'll have this map as a guide, so when I'm laying out the battle at the convention, I can just go, okay, that's where tile 1 goes, that's where tile 2 goes, etc., etc. Okay, so but first I have to figure out where all the bocage go, right? That's part of the fun. Alright, so now this might take a minute for me to do, and there's no need for you to actually watch me do this, trying to trial by error, getting these laid out. But to start, I'm going to get all the 6-inch ones. Basically, I'm going to lay them out in front of me right now. And that's another thing. I can interchange any of these 6-inch pieces with any of the other 6-inch pieces. So technically, I could just on the map just put a 6, saying that any 6-inch piece will work in that spot, right? Okay. So it doesn't have to be like this 1 goes 1 and this 2 goes 2. I don't have to do that. All the 6 inches, they can be interchangeable. Okay, so let me get them all out by size, and then we'll get to laying them down. All right, I got them out. These are my 6 inches. I think these are my 5s. These are my 4s. Working their way down to 3s. Then they've got a 2 and a 1. Right? Now these are the ones that I broke. I gave them the passage through, and I'm going to see if I can lay this out and complete the map without the use of these, and then use these only if they get breached. Alright, give me a second to figure out where everything goes, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so we got all the bocage laid out, where it's going to go on these 4 tiles. These 2 bocage are going to go right along there. So there's, so these 2, and then all of these are going to be placed right where they're at. So I'm going to leave that out just for now while I place these pre-made hedges down where I think would be the best place for these pre-made ones. And then I'm going to, I pre-made these, but then I'm going to make some wild hedges in their various locations And but before that happens, I want to see how many hedges I have, where they belong, and then I'm going to lay out popsicle sticks where the hedges should be, and then make them to match those popsicle sticks. And I'm going to mark the bottoms of those as well as the bottoms of these to let me know where they belong. Okay. Alright, I laid out all these little popsicle sticks to determine where I'm going to need hedges at, and I came up with this many. I'm going to need this many hedges, just low hedges. These are going to be wild hedges. Now a few of these, like a couple of them, I'm going to cut short, maybe 3 or 4 of them, but the majority of them are all these 6-inch hedges. This is going to be all 6 tables as well. I measured all the different hedges. I'm going to cut it and texture it, and then I'll have to wait for that to dry. And then what in the meantime, what I'll do is I'll cut the scrub pads that I plan to use as the basis for most of these hedges, and I'll cut them to these sizes, which most of them are just going to be 6 inches, and then we'll flock them before I go to attach them, because I have to wait for that texture paste to dry before I can get to putting anything on here. Okay, so let me just set this off to the side, and we'll work on that here in a minute. But before we do that, I want to clean this up, okay? So, because I don't want to work on top of this table here. So, I've got these hedges where I want them, the bocage. So, I've decided I'm going to label the bottoms. Now, I've changed my methodology just as I was recording. I decided that I'm going to label these hedges in groups, like this will be hedge 1, and like this could be hedge 2, and this is hedge 3, and this strip here is hedge 4 or whatever. And what that's going to do is I'm going to be able to pull out, okay, these are all the hedges from hedge 4, okay, pop, 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 right? These are all the hedges from hedge 1, okay, pop, pop, pop. Now, the way I've decided to label it is the boards. Now, I've already decided how I'm going to label my boards: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So this hedge group right here is going to be 11. So table 1, right? Hedge 1. So it's going to be group 11. it's not really 11, it's table 1, group 1. And then I also want to know how many hedges are in that group so that I can count properly when I'm putting them on the table. So I'm going to put a third number, which is how many are in that. And I might make that like a subscript. There are 2 pieces in group 11, right? There are 2 pieces in group 11. So when I pull these 2 out, I'll know, okay, well, these go exactly the way I had it, and voila, right? All right. So now this is a long hedge here, right? I envision this as one hedge in my head, and I'm going to call that 12, right? It's still table 1. It's the second group, and it has technically, with the addition of these 2 hedges along there, I would consider that 5 pieces. So 1, 2, 5. Table 1, set 2, 5 pieces. Table 1, set 2, 5 pieces. It'll just make it easier for me. Now, technically, 2 of those pieces are on that table. So I possibly screwed myself up by not counting it as that table, but that's okay. At least I know all of these are connected. All right, once I get all these labeled, I'll be right back. All right, so now the next step is just to cut these to the proper size. And I'm going to use my hobby knife. What I try to do is cut a couple of them at the same time. Okay, I'm going to use AK Muddy Ground on all of these sticks. I'm going to trim the edges off of these guys. And really all I'm doing is making 2 45-degree angle cuts. Alright, now you should be able to leave this with just a 45-degree cut, because all you wanted was like a rounded edge. But if you needed to put it at a 90-degree angle, you're still going to get a good connection like that. So you don't actually have to go with a full round edge. But I'm gonna go in there and just kind of clean it up a little bit with my X-Acto. Okay, you might have noticed that I've got some wax paper out here, and that's so that once I put the muddy ground on the stick, I'm going to put it on the wax paper because I don't want it to drip off and stick on any surface that I might be putting it on. Okay. Now also this muddy ground, I've noticed last time I used it on the bocage, it was starting to dry up, right? It's starting to become less viscous or whatever. So what I'll do is I'll just drop a little bit of water in there and I'll stir it up. Now I could have used one of those stirrers that I put away, but I got my brush right here. I'll just stir it up with my brush. And then it basically makes it more runny. But if you keep stirring, you'll get that water down inside. Make sure I hit the walls, collect up any of that extra muddy ground goodness. Basically, I keep stirring until it doesn't have that watery look anymore. So I know that water is mixed in with all the muddy ground. Okay. Now you might also notice I didn't paint these guys. Now this is going to be an experiment, right? I'm going to do majority of the stick, but because there's nothing to hold on to, I'm not going to do the entire stick, right? That's why I said I'm going to need some time to dry. I kind of caught myself. Now I'm not going to do all of them. I'm just going to do some of them because I want to see if this flex paste is going to cause the popsicle stick to warp. This is an experiment. If it causes the popsicle stick to warp, then I might have to pursue a different technique. The other technique I was considering was taping these down, double-sided tape, to prevent it from bowing. I considered putting glue on the backside to counter warp it, if that makes sense. Like if it warps in one direction and then I put glue, Elmer's, on the other side, would it bring the warp back to even? So that's what we're going to experiment with. I'm going to do probably about 5 or 6 of these, and then we're going to let it sit. Okay, so give me a minute, and I'll be back. And if everything goes according to plan, I'll come back with all of them completely covered. Okay, when looking at these popsicle sticks on my ruler here, this ruler says it's not a full 6 inches. It's probably an 1/8 of an inch shy. But then I've got this other ruler here. It's exactly the same as that. So it's just shy of an 1/8 of an inch of 6 inches. So when I cut my hedges, I need to be sure oh, guess what? These are exactly an 1/8 of an inch shy of 6 inches. So these are already perfectly the right size. I was afraid I was going to have to cut a little bit off if this was a full 6 inches. Okay, now using scissors, I'm going to cut this down to the height, maybe a little more than what I want for the hedge. Now I want the hedges to match up about the same height as these 15 millimeter fences, which wind up being a 1/2 inch tall. Here it is. Okay. So here comes the tricky part. I'm going to cut this at 1 inch. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use my X-Acto knife. That's double, that makes 2 hedges. Perfect. Okay. So there's 2 hedges. Now with my scissors, I'm going to cut approximately in the middle, 1/2 inch, but I'm going to go up and down and wiggle waggle and do kind of like a random, some will be a little higher than others, some will be lower than others, you know. It'll basically be not perfect. And then close to the end, I'll try to get it back to about halfway. It doesn't have to be exact, right? But there we go. And so you're going to have 2 flat edges, right? And then the tops of both of these 2 pieces are going to be weird. Okay. So how many will I need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 full length ones. Okay. So that's what we're shooting for. 25 full length ones. Okay, now I brought out my Everyday Living, which I think it's from Walmart. I had to cut a tip off because this was actually 6 inches, so I cut it down to 5 7/8, and then cutting it in half doesn't go all the way through in some spots, right? So this, because remember this was 10 millimeters thick and this is only 7 millimeters, so it seems to just be a little bit more durable when cutting it, which I guess means it'll be more durable on the table. I just like these better, and they're OD, and they're not this awful blue-green. And they're a lot thicker. I like the 10 millimeter. Okay. You can see I only did about 2 pads of this color and 1 pad of this color. And I'm going to cut down the middle. And again, do a little bit of a random up and down. Once they get all these cut in half, we'll be right back. Alright, now let's take some pieces here and make them the right length for these. perfect for that one. Alrighty. So now let's try brown. Alright, so I cut out all the small ones, the short ones, and now I got to make sure I got 25 of these longer ones, which I'm not sure if I do now, because I had to cut quite a few. 1, 2. Okay, so there's 12 and 13. That makes 25. Perfect, perfect. And then these shorter ones have got theirs already paired up. That's great. Okay, now looking at these popsicle sticks, they don't seem to be warping. They're still drying. They don't appear to be warping. That's a good thing. Alright, so what does that mean? Well, that means I need to do all these other popsicle sticks at half mast, and then once they're dry, then I'll do the second half. Basically, this gives me something to hold on to. Okay. Also, by leaving half of it dry, okay, I'm thinking about this right now. By leaving half of it dry, that might be fighting the warping as well. Because it doesn't want to warp because half of it is not wet. Okay, so let me get all these done and then I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Now we're going to get going into the next step. While these halves are drying, we're going to work on these. When these are done, they're going to still have to dry, probably overnight. So I won't be able to finish it on this video, maybe the next video. And then when these dry tonight, I'm just going to go ahead and coat the other half. And then in the next video, we'll be ready to assemble them. I just won't be able to do it all tonight. Alright, so I got 3 types of flock. I've got this ground scatter, which kind of looks like flowery ground scatter from, I think it was Bosch. And then I've got, and we'll put that there. And then I should have some bright green, yep, bright green medium scatter. This has got some fairly large chunks in it. Yeah, that's a bright green scatter. And then this is blended turf, but I have a few pieces of other flocks in here from previous projects or whatever. As I recover the flock, they get mixed up, and that's what's in here. This is mostly blended turf, which is a foam flock. Okay, I've got me a cardboard box. I've got some spray adhesive. For this, I'm going to be using the Elmer's spray adhesive. I don't like using the Elmer's on styrofoam because it'll actually melt the styrofoam. I use Super 77 for that. Okay, so this is going to be kind of a weird, unusual thing I'm getting ready to do. I'm going to glue 9 of these down, right? So I just go, and it doesn't have to be great, and then I just press these down. These might or might not stick. I just want them to be able to stay upright. Yeah, that one didn't stay upright. Oh, I had it upside down. Yeah, I want the flat end to be down against the cardboard. Okay, because you know how I made these. Now I'm going to spray these with the cement. And the reason why I glued them to the bottom of the cardboard was so they won't tip over. You could use like tape or double-sided tape or something like that if you wanted. And what I'm trying to do is get both sides and the top. Maybe a little bit of the ends as well when I get there. Okay. Now with each of these flocks, I'm going to put 3 of them in there. 1, 2, try not to get them to stick together. There we go. And 3. Close the lid. Shake it up. All right, we'll get back to that in a minute. 1. Sticky fingers. 2. Come on. Don't stick to each other. Don't you dare. Okay. Moving around. Hopefully the flock sticks to the glue. That's the general idea. I'll get back to the first one. Pull it out. You can see how it's almost completely covered. Almost. It's got a little bit of a curve to it, a little bend. I can see this block didn't want to stick. Or maybe I just didn't spray those good enough. I might have to go back and spray these again. Or just use more tufts on that one. I don't know. And here's the blended turf. Yeah, the blended turf doesn't look that good. These are all experiments. The best hedge is actually the wild grass on that one. Okay, now we're going to try 9 of these. Okay, give them a spray. Okay. One, two, three. This is the one that didn't do too good on the first one. It's probably going to do better on the green because it's got a green base. It still looks like wild hedges. And there is also less flock in this tub. So I'll give it a couple more shakes. And this tub's got a ton of flock in it, like it's over full. I probably put too much flock in this tub. Alright, let's see how they turned out. Now these are the dark green ones. Okay, the dark green with the light green, that doesn't really look that good in my opinion. But the light green on the brown looks really good. It might just need a second coat. They all might need just a second coat. We'll evaluate once they dry. Yeah, this flock doesn't want to stick at all to the green or the brown. I'm not going to use this flock at all. It's almost a waste. Yeah, this one's right out. Not going to use it. And the clump, I'm not the clump, the blended turf. Okay, blended turf on the dark green looks pretty good, I think. It just gives it a little extra texture. Okay, I think the blended turf looks the best on the dark green, and I think the light green looks the best on the brown. Okay, so we're going to try something. I'll try a second coat on all these non-light greens. Use Super 77 this time. All right. I'm going to put all 6 of them in there. Even the ones that didn't come out very good, still came out pretty good. Is that all of them? I lost count. I think that was 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. All right. Good deal. Okay, well, I guess that's all we can do right now. But let me give you a heads up of what I plan to do tomorrow. These will have been 100% coated by tonight off camera, so that'll have dried. These will probably dry by tomorrow morning. I'll probably shake all the excess off, so you won't see me do any of that. But then I'm going to attach these to the sticks, but I'm not just going to attach these to the sticks. I'm also going to add a little bit of clump foliage here and there to disguise things. Like this brown area, I might put some clump foliage. I might also take a perfectly good hedge and cut it, because I'm going to plant a tree in here, and then I'll put the hedge right up to it on both sides. So I'm going to pull some trees out. Most of my trees have pins, and what I'll do is I'll cut a pin vise hole in this and put the tree down inside that pin vise hole, and then put the hedge right up to it. And then if I feel like it, I might put some tufts on there as well, just to kind of give it a little bit more variety on top of the clump foliage and the trees. All right, so I will see you. Well, today you've got one video, and then tomorrow should be a continuation, part 2 of this. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.